That's it. Lovely play. Well done, Vega. Use it well. That's yours, Havertz. That's yours. That's it, Merino. That's yours. Lovely. Great play. Merino scored his first goal for the club. Well done. First of many. Yeah, he's the left 8 Arsenal need. He's definitely the left 8 Arsenal need. I think that's a fair result so far. Merino has been impressive. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Overload the Middle. I hope you guys are good. Hope you guys are well. We are now crazy. We just started the season. We're 3 games into the season, and we have an international break. Yes, those boring interludes where we don't get to see our favorite team or teams. Whether it's whatever team we support. It's crazy because I was really enjoying the season, and especially after what happened over the weekend with Declan Rice. You just want another game to get out of your system. You just want to get over it, but we've got now the best part of 2 weeks to keep mulling over the situation. Man United have a couple of weeks to figure out whether they want to keep Ten Hag or not. So much is going on, but today what I wanted to do, I wanted to look at 2 very, very key players for 2 different teams. Both midfielders, as you can see, Merino and Ugarte. And the things, it's funny, they have a lot in common, but they don't have a lot in common. The number one thing they have in common is they are both very much key midfielders that cannot start the league campaign. One through a very ridiculous, innocuous challenge by Gabriel, who ended up falling on Merino and fracturing his shoulder. Apparently he's out for 2 months. And Ugarte, where after the game against United and Liverpool, Ten Hag came out and said, it might take him months to get his match fitness back and be ready, which was a surprise to a lot of people because obviously, as far as we're aware, there's no injury. So it's just a case of getting up to match fitness, after Copa America, and obviously Merino as well, because I think what people forget is that Merino got injured in his first training session. He hasn't had no pre-season. He come off the back of obviously the Euro 2024, but he's had no pre-season and now he's injured. So, to be frank, we probably won't see him until, even though they say 2 months, I doubt we'll see him fully fit until maybe mid-November, which is annoying. However, when they do return, I think they're going to both make significant impacts to their teams, with Merino making a significant impact. And based on the game against Liverpool on Sunday, you can see they're crying out for Ugarte. They are absolutely crying out for him. So what I wanted to do is just do a little comparison, see how the players fare. And yes, I know you might be thinking, well, they're not the same type of midfielders. I get it. Merino is more of a marauding box-to-box 8, whereas Ugarte is a anchorman type central defensive midfielder. He doesn't really, well, his job isn't to link up play or to go forward, but to be that dogged anchorman in front of the back four, shielding the back four. But regardless of the fact that they do have their differences, I want to actually compare and just see who got the better deal. Was it Arsenal with Merino, or was it Man United with Ugarte? Now, just taking a brief look, pace-wise, you can see Merino's on 78 plus 6, 84, and then you've got Ugarte on 75 plus 6, 81. So So they're not too far apart pace-wise, you know, which is interesting. Looking at their shooting, now this is not even a competition. Shooting, Merino's on 84 plus 2, 86, and Ugarte's on a very, very, how can I put it, mediocre 67. Now I know any United fans watching this will be like, that's not his game. His game is not to go forward. His game is to sit back and defend. You know, but we all know that the way that the game is evolving, you can't just be good at one thing. You know, whether you're doesn't matter what position you play in, you've got to have you know, a lot of managers, you know, the Artetas, the Pep, and a lot of managers these days are looking for well-rounded defenders, and unfortunately, you know, if the ball comes to him at the edge of the area and he takes a shot, just don't expect it to go in. That's all I will say. I might be eating my words, and who knows, when he comes back, he might have the opportunity to blast one from 18 yards and it ripples into the back of the net. But judging off these stats, don't expect it. If we do get it, it's a bonus, but don't expect it. Going on to passing, we have Merino sitting on 87 plus 4, 91 on passing, and we have, interestingly enough, oh dear, we have Ugarte coming in at 80 for passing. Now don't get me wrong, 80 is a decent passing number, but if you're comparing it with Merino, and again, yes, I know they're different players, however, they're passing is just fundamental. And with a United team where he's very much, the problem with United at the moment, as we can see, not only do they lack control in the midfield, the way that they link play leaves a lot to be desired. Let's just put it that way. Their linking play isn't great, as we saw with even Casemiro on Sunday making, you know, a couple of howlers. But to be fair, you know, 80 isn't terrible. It's not terrible, but I would have assumed he had a better passing than that. But that's cool. Moving on to dribbling, we've got Merino coming in at 87 plus 2, 89, and interestingly enough, Ugarte is at 80. So Ugarte is a decent dribbler. Okay, they're gonna definitely need that, because again, as I said, you're gonna need someone who's, especially for Man United, who's press resistant, who can get out of tight situations. And if he's an 80 dribbler, then he's going to be able to do that, you know, and make light work of it. So that's a big plus for Man United with Ugarte coming in at 18 dribbling. Now this is where the rubber hits the road. Defending. It don't matter whether you're box to box. It don't matter whether you're a CDM. You know, you have to be able to be good at defending. Merino comes in at 89 for defending, whereas Ugarte comes in at 86. Now don't get it twisted, you know, there ain't not much difference between 89 and 86, but it's really interesting. You know, everyone has applauded Merino for his statistics when it comes to winning challenges, winning duels, you know, winning tackles. And I'm so looking forward to it. So looking forward to it. And to be honest, United, they definitely need a very, very good shield in front of their defense. Because yes, you can say tactics plays a part. But, you know, playing the way that Ten Hag played on Sunday, playing that was it a 4? It was a 3-1-6. What kind of formation is that? So if he's the only central defender shielding the only 3 players at the back, he has to be good at defending. And even with an 86, with that formation, it's still going to be a very long day. So we'll see how long Ten Hag persist with that formation. But yeah, defending is going to have to be fundamental for whoever United bring in, and it looks like they've got a good one there with Ugarte. Okay, moving on to physical attributes, we have Merino on 89 and Ugarte on 88. So again, they're very, very close, very similar, robust, very hard to knock off the ball. They're not flimsy in any way. It looks like they're both very, very heavy units when it comes to the physical attributes, so that's great. One thing I'm always interested in looking at when it comes to stats, and again, as I always say when I do these analysis, these looking at stats on FC24 is just a rough guide. There are better games to look at stats if you want really more detailed information. Games like Football Manager, and you have websites such as transfermarket.com, FBref, and so many other websites to look at stats. But in terms of the game, the thing I like to look at, one of the first things I look at is how strong is their weak foot, because I feel like in this day and age, it's so important to be ambidextrous, so important to be strong on both your left and your right. When you're, don't matter what system you're playing under, to have the comfortability of turning left and turning right and not having any weakness when any weakness on that weaker foot is important. It looks like they're both coming in at 3 out of 5. Merino on his right foot, 3 out of 5, and Ugarte on his left foot, which isn't too bad. I mean, that's okay. I would have preferred it if I saw a 4 out of 5, because that would tell me that they're a lot more comfortable in their weaker foot. But I would say 3 out of 5. Anything less than that, I would have been concerned. But 3 out of 5 is what I call the minimum requirement. So they're both decent at that. When you look at their acceleration type, they're both controlled lengthy, so they are able to run longer distances at the same speed. And so they're both very, very good players in that regard. Let's have a look at it. Okay, so this is an area where it might get a bit tasty. Looking at aggression, Merino's coming in at 87, but Ugarte is coming in at 93. That is very interesting. That tells me I wouldn't be surprised if Ugarte either A, picks up, let's say, 5 yellow cards and has a 1-match ban real quick, or B, picks up a couple of straight reds. Because when you're getting a 93 aggression, even in a game, the game will not just plucking numbers out of the air. They put that number down for a reason, and you can see he lacks a lot of patience when it comes to the tackle, and he's very aggressive with it. And that's not gonna bode well for Man United, because Man United with 11 players have problems, but with 10 players, forget about it. You saw on the weekend when Rice got sent off, how quickly things went left for Arsenal. And although, if I just share my thoughts quickly, I felt like it didn't feel to me that Arteta had planned for what to do when you go down to 10 men. I think he left it a little bit late to bring on Calafiori. If you're going to go a 5-man defensive unit, in my personal opinion, I'd have actually gone for a 4-4-1. Yeah, I'd have kept the defense as is. I know they went for, what was it, a 5-3-1, but I would have kept it 4-4-1. And I feel like he took too long to bring on Martinelli. If you were going to go for, it didn't feel like it was planned. It didn't feel like, okay, if we go down to 10 men, we're going to play a 5-3-1. We're going to bring on Martinelli, who we can use as pace when it comes to counter-attacking. And I felt like they weren't as prepared for a 10-man scenario. And to be fair, if you look at Arsenal last season, I don't recall, there was only maybe one occasion that we went down to 10 men. We're very, very good when it comes to our discipline. But yeah, going back to Ugarte, Man United fans, if you're watching, be prepared for Ugarte to pick up some reds, or at least a lot of yellow cards at a minimum. Okay. Anything else that just jumps out? Let's have a look. They're pretty much very, very okay. So looking at jumping, which is down the bottom, nailed to the bottom of the page, we've got Merino with a 90 jump versus Ugarte on a 75 jump. And obviously, I know that, you know, height-wise, Merino is the taller player, but if you're, you know, especially if you're an anchorman CDM, you know, jumping is important, and being able to, you know, get above your strikers aerially is important. So that might be a problem for Man United moving forward, because yeah, a lot of players are gonna, you know, a lot of managers may look at Ugarte and say, okay, what we're gonna do, rather than try to play it on the floor, we're gonna go over the top and test him in the air. So that might be a problem. Oh, another problem that I'm seeing come up straight away: sprint speed. So we have Merino on an 84 sprint speed, which is decent, and then we have Ugarte on a 73 plus 6. That's at 79. That might be a problem, you know. Yeah, that might be a problem. That, especially in the Premier League. You know, I know he's come from the League On, which the game is a lot slower. But in this Premier League, your ability to be able to sprint, to be able, especially when you're on the back foot and you're having to chase down, you're dealing with counter attacks, and you're having to, you know, sprint back to help out your defense, that's going to be a problem. So it's either that the way that you have to play Ugarte is that you literally have to keep him back. The minute he tries to step up and go forward, if you get countered on, he's in no man's land, and that's just basically it. Stamina, okay, Merino's got a bit more stamina, but you know, Ugarte is very, very decent. And again, strength, pretty much the same, 1 point in it. So in conclusion, I would say both Arsenal and Man United are very, very unfortunate not to have these two players start at the beginning of the season. I feel like they would have made a significant difference, especially when you factor what happened on Sunday with Casemiro at you know, against Liverpool, and having that player to come on to either support Casemiro, which I think he needs. I don't think Casemiro is a bad player. I just think the system that Casemiro is playing in doesn't give him enough support. And then you've got, you know, the unfortunate scenario where we desperately need Merino. We would have loved to have Merino in the squad already. You know, we're going to be missing Declan Rice against Tottenham after the international break, and he would have been perfect to just come in and slot in for Declan Rice. But when they do eventually, you know, find their fitness, they are going to be very, very significant in the trajectory of both teams moving forward. I feel like, I'm trying not to be biased, because, you know, I'm an Arsenal supporter, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'm trying to be neutral in this. Who do I think will have the biggest impact coming into this season? It's a tough question, because I feel like if I look at Arsenal, I feel like they've desperate, even it's so funny, man. A lot of Arsenal fans couldn't wait to get rid of Xhaka. Couldn't wait to get rid of him, especially after his antics and, you know, swearing at the fans and throwing the shirt on the ground. Well, no, he didn't throw his shirt on the ground, but swearing at the fans, etc., etc. And, you know, a lot was forgiven in his last season, and he made amends for, you know, a number of mediocre seasons before. But when he left, we felt it, and Martinelli in particular felt it. And I feel like, and a lot of people would say the same, that when, you know, when Merino comes in, I feel like he will give Martinelli a new lease of life. So I feel like he'll have a definite impact there. you can see from even the signing of Kai Havertz last season, although, you know, thankfully he's found his position, which is a striker. When he was playing the midfield, you could tell that Arteta was desperately looking for what I call a box crasher, someone that can come into the box, crash the box, and contribute with significant goals and assists. And I feel like Merino will do that, as well as provide cover for the defense. Ugarte, on the other hand, is coming into a very disjointed Man United side, who are still trying to figure out their patterns of play. They're still trying to figure out their style of play, and yeah, I feel like no fault of Ugarte's own, and this is not I'm not trying to slight him now, but I feel Merino's coming into the more stable environment out of the two. Merino's coming to an environment where everyone knows their job, everyone's on job. You know, there's no confusion about what the manager wants to do, and there's no confusion about what manager expectations. Whereas I feel like Ugarte, although he will make an impact, I feel the two things, well, one thing in particular that again is staring us at the top of that list is his aggression. And if he can't control that in a very, very aggressive Premier League where he won't be used to players, you know, leaving something on him, he's not going to be used to players, you know, kicking him at the the frequency of kicking that he's going to get. And if he decides to go in two-footed, you know, tackle from behind, anything like that, he's gonna quickly learn about the Premier League. So you know, he's gonna learn real quick if he comes in with that. So I feel like that's gonna be a big disadvantage. And also I feel like because he's coming into such a toxic environment, you know, looking at that Liverpool of Man United game, I still don't understand why you would. Everybody knows, you know, and one of the reasons why I even called my channel Overload the Middle, because games are won in the midfield. Games are not won when you got 6 people up the field and you got nothing behind you. You can't even call that a high line. You just have to call that a bagel, you know. You know, shout out Expressions, Bagel FC. You got something at the back. You got 6 people in attack, but you got nothing in the middle, right? And I feel like if Ugarte is coming into that system, you're not going to get the best out of him. And there's a reason why, you know, players look better when they're playing for other clubs versus Man United. Shout out Jadon Sancho at Dortmund. You know, he left United on loan to go to Dortmund. He helped Dortmund get to a Champions League final. But when he comes back to United, he's bang average, actually less than bang average. And you have to ask yourself, why isn't the manager getting the best out of their players? So I feel, you know, if I'm just looking at them strictly as individuals, forgetting about the environment they're going into, I feel like the player that's going to be a lot more valuable and have much more impact, I believe, will be Merino. You know, I know Ugarte is a younger player, so he's still got time to develop, but I feel like a Merino is a signing for today, you know, with a couple years in mind. By the time Ugarte gets to Merino's age of 28, he'll be a lot more refined as a defender. But the two things that do concern me are his aggression and his lack of speed, and that is so he's going to be found out in terms of his recovery speed will be found out very quickly, and his aggression will be found out very quickly. And once players know that they can, you know, get at you mentally, you know, they're gonna target him and do what they did to Declan Rice every day and put him in a situation where he gets himself sent off. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Who do you think is going to have the bigger? Who do you think is going to have the bigger impact, Merino or Ugarte? Leave your thoughts, leave your views in the comments below. Again, I appreciate every love shown, comments, likes, subs, all of that good stuff. Much appreciated. And I will see you next time on Overload the Middle. Take care. Peace.